I got Jonah off 3 espresso martinis.
Wait, you had called? What?
No. But Jonah looks at me and he goes, "You're a lot better looking than I thought you were from speaking on the phone." I am talking his ear off the entire award ceremony. He's like, shh. Okay, Claudia, shh.
How was it beginning as an agent?
It was really hard. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, like you're gonna crush it. You are working for a Hall of Fame producer, you're dating Jonah Lewis, and I took that as, oh, I'm going to crush it, and I didn't.
And I was getting burnt out, to be honest with you. And I came home and I said, Claudia, I love what we're doing. I love writing business. I love helping families, but I don't want to be forced to do this for the next 5 years.
I think people who are in relationships have trouble making that distinction.
When you're building a business, there really is no balance.
I remember, obviously, you guys didn't have a lot of agents for a long time. Basically, just you, Jonah, and then just you and Claudia and like 1 or 2 other agents for like the first 2 years. And I remember like talking with you guys. It was like a revelation that hit us. Like, oh wow, like this is working. So talk to people about what those calls look like.
You don't need to hire everybody that has a pulse. You need to fire everybody and start over. Because this job does not require any innate special talent or ability, but it does require those 4 characteristics. And those are the 4 characteristics that we look for in every single recruiting call. If they possess 3 out of the 4, does not possess one of them, we don't hire them.
Welcome to the Prosper Pod. A little bit different today. Hosted by myself, Gabe Ericson, with Jonah and Claudia. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing awesome. Let's get it.
Dude, this has been a long time coming. I've known you both. Obviously, Jonah, I've known you for a little bit longer. But I think I met you guys right before you met. I met you right before you met, right?
Yes.
Like within 6 months? Something like that.
Within a few months, yeah, because we met at convention at the sales conference
February
in
of
2021, February, and we met that fall.
Yeah.
So yes.
Dude, so perfect. And so it has been an incredible relationship with you both, and to see just the growth throughout the years, and obviously to see your guys' relationship develop, and also your guys' dynamic in business. So that's what we're here to focus about today. So I think, we're going to have your individual stories in different pods, but today I kind of want to focus on you guys as it pertains to the business. So let's talk about that a little bit. So when you met, Jonah, you were already a full-time agent. Claudia, what were you doing?
I was an admin for a manager in the business.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
When we met or just in total?
When you met.
July started, so 7-8 months.
So you'd been, you were acquainted. Did you know who Jonah was? Was he a big dog at that time?
No, he was not a big dog, but I did know who he was. I'm a stalker. I already had his phone number. Had to put a couple podcasts together for him. So
okay.
Made some graphics with his face on it.
Okay, so I might embarrass you guys a little bit today. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
So how did you guys meet? What was it? Was it love at first sight? What happened exactly?
You want to share the story? I'll let you share it.
I honestly have never heard you share it though.
Okay, I'll share it.
I want to hear it from your point of view.
Yeah, so this was at sales conference convention, and we met down by the bar in the restaurant where we actually spoke. I think you had called me a couple times before that on the phone. I didn't actually know what you looked like though. So first time seeing you in person. And
wait, you had called? What
no,
you like?
So no, this part's actually really funny, and I forgot about this part. So in the administrative world, there were 2 Claudias. There was English white American Claudia, and then there was Spanish Claudia. And Jonah spoke to Claudia multiple times. She has like this, English second language, the softest, sweetest voice. And when Jonah first...
And I thought she was an old woman.
Yeah, she's not. But Jonah looks at me and he goes, you're a lot better looking than I thought you were from speaking on the phone.
That's like the first thing I said to her.
Wait. So just to confirm, Jonah, you just learned today for the first time that it was not this Claudia that you were talking to on the phone.
No, I knew that.
Okay.
He learned that then.
Well, she told
okay,
me
got it.
afterwards.
Okay, got it.
Because I'm like, oh, Claudia. And then I'm like, oh.
We've spoke before, and I'm like, no, we haven't.
You're a lot more better looking than what I envisioned in my head.
That is 100% something Jonah would say the first time he met somebody. Clearly, this silver-tongued devil swept you off your feet like the first time you met.
Basically. That and a little bit of help with some espresso martinis.
Yeah.
Espresso martinis. And then we met, we hung out, and you actually, I'll let you share the rest of the story.
Okay, so we meet at the bar. I order food. It takes forever. So that's why I'm like talking with him. And my food like basically never comes. At that point, I don't know if I should share this. We can like cut it if we want. I'm 3 espresso martinis deep. I am talking his ear off the entire award ceremony. He's like, shh, shh. Okay, Claudia, shh. I didn't. End of the night comes. He walks away. And I was like, he's not getting away that easy. My heart was telling me he was the one. And I'm creepy. Already had his number. He didn't know I had his number. And I texted him and I asked him if he wanted to go get food. He waited like 20 minutes to respond. At that point, it's obviously
I had to build the suspense a little bit.
Yeah. At that point, it's like obviously like still like deep in COVID. I'm honestly pretty sure I was already in my hotel room and like changed in pajamas. And then I was like in bed and you're like, oh yeah, let's go. And I was like, I have to go. But like all the restaurants were closed because it was obviously like the deep of COVID. And so we drove to the beach, sat on the beach, talked until like 3 o'clock in the morning, saw a UFO.
Yeah. That was actually, we were just talking about that on our date night last Sunday. That was a pretty memorable experience where we sat on the beach in South Miami, right outside of the Versace mansion. And we were sitting there. I'll share the UFO story because it's pretty cool. I'm convinced to this day we saw a UFO.
I mean, like, what else could it be? It wasn't a shooting star.
So
it was a UFO.
You heard it here today.
Here's what
Verified. It was.
So
Verified by Jonah Lewis.
It wasn't just me because we both saw it. We both saw it. So there's 2 witnesses, but we're on South Beach, Miami, facing straight into the ocean, and there is this light, and this bright dot comes over, and then disappears, and 2 seconds later, it's right here, shines again, and then boom, just drops into the ocean within seconds. It's in the sky, goes straight down.
I also want to add, it was in front of the Bermuda Triangle.
Then that's exactly what I was gonna say. And then I thought about it. I'm like, did you just see that? Was that an alien? And then we were thinking about it more. We're like, we're facing south. That's the Bermuda Triangle. So it's.
You heard it here, folks.
We saw a UFO. It's a fact. Anyway.
100%.
I love that. I love it. So you guys started talking. How long before you became an agent, Claudia?
A full. Okay, well, technically I had my license. I ran a couple appointments on the weekends, but I didn't go full time until like a full year after when I moved to Chicago.
Oh, was it that long?
Yeah.
So, okay. Because I always had that timeline confused. I was like, how long did they start talking before she moved to Chicago? So it was about a year.
Yeah, so because we had met and then I come to Chicago for the 4th of July. I come back in August.
And just to preface, where were you living before this?
Florida.
And we met in Florida.
Yes.
Okay, so just set the context.
And this whole time you were doing contracting for another agency.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
And then you decide, hey, I'm going to come to Chicago. I think that's where officially you guys like lined up in business. You're like, I'm going to, be an agent, on Jonah's team. Things are getting fairly.
Well, whenever he's calling me on his drive home from Wisconsin and he's like, yeah, I helped 10 families today. I'm like, how long is that going to take me to make? A long time.
Yeah.
So
I'm
and
sure.
I didn't like doing long distance. I liked him too much.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him.
Look at you. But it's and it was funny because it was a stage in life where I had been talking to somebody else and ended that with her right before me and Claudia met. And then I was just like, I'm going to stay single. I'm not going to pursue anybody. Mm-hmm. I'm happy. I'm finally at a place in life where I'm going to focus on myself, focusing on developing myself, be the best version of myself I can. I don't want to be talking to any girls. I don't want to be involved in any relationships. I'm just going to focus on this business, figure this business out, and elevate myself as a person.
And then he met me.
And then I met Claudia.
Ruined all of those plans.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
But
playing.
thank God.
That's awesome. No, I mean, for all of us, 100%. So, became an agent, started that. How was it beginning as an agent in your career? Was it difficult?
It was really hard. So being in the industry for a year and a half, and I was like a very hands-on admin. I was always on all the training calls. I knew all the underwriting. I was always calling carriers. Like I knew stuff. And so whenever I first, quit my 9-to-5, got my license, everybody's like, oh my gosh, like you're going to crush it. You are working for a Hall of Fame producer. You're dating Jonah Lewis. Like you've been doing this. Like you're going to crush it. And I took that as, oh, I'm going to crush it. And I didn't do the necessary steps it took to learn as a new agent. And I didn't reach out and ask for help as soon as I should have. And so the first little bit was hard. I remember the first time I told Jonah to listen to me on the phones, he goes, oh my gosh, you sound like a telemarketer. You sound like a robot. And I was like, oh, oops. Like, he's like, no wonder people are hanging up on you. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks.
He's like, talk like the other Claudia.
Yeah. I just realized why you said that.
Claudia.
Yes. So it was really hard at first. I feel like I started into February because I immediately after the conference that month, we flew back together and then drove my car to Chicago together. And I immediately unpacked within a couple days, and that Monday I was on the phone. So from end of February until I think April, it finally clicked.
And then how long were you an agent in the field?
A year and a half?
A year and a half. Yeah, sounds about right. Because I remember, obviously, a lot of that time we weren't working super closely together. We were. I mean, I talked to Jonah all the time, but we weren't yet. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really know you as an agent. And then I remember right around the time that we started getting to know each other better, you were starting to transition out of the field. I remember trying to talk you into it. I'm like, you really, because Jonah had just started doing telesales. I'm like, Claudia, you need to do it. And you're like, no, I finally got my rhythm in the field, and I will never forget. And we got to find the picture and post it so people can see. The day you sent me the picture of this very, it was a murder house. There's no other way to say it, in Gary, Indiana. And you're like, you sent me a picture of this. You're like, I'm getting out of the field. And I was like, you sent me the picture. I was like, do not go into the house.
I'm like, I knocked twice already.
Yeah, I'm like, you already knocked. I'm like, I can't believe Claudia was going to walk into that house and sell somebody. What was it like transitioning from getting to a place where because you were doing decent numbers in the field to then going into telesales? What was that transition like?
Honestly, it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. So I thought it was going to be a learning curve. But honestly, I was so pumped that I could call different time zones. I remember the first week I went virtual, I did 15. And because I was getting to the office at 6:30 in the morning, I was calling East Coast, and then I was transitioning to Central Time, and then I was calling Mountain, and then I was calling Pacific, and I was at the office until 10 o'clock every, from 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I just grinded it out. But I also didn't let the new agent mistakes happen to me where I was immediately in the live dials, listening, asking, for questions.
I remember that.
I remember I talked to Mindy and Christy a ton, just replicating them.
Yeah.
And I did that all while working.
Which is so
hours.
funny for me to hear, because I remember I spent a year talking Mindy to do telesales. She's like, no. I'm like, come on, you gotta, you're gonna be great. And so it's so funny seeing all this come together. So at what point, so let's go into this. At what point did you guys realize there was a synergy in your business relationship beyond you just being a writing agent and you just being a manager? What was it? Because obviously it was before you probably got out of the field. What do you guys remember when that was? When you're like, okay, there's something. I'm sure you helped on contracting here and now and again, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. You tell us.
You want me to answer this?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I want to say thank God you are out of the field. That just made me so nervous every day. But so much better at being virtual. But I remember very vividly because when we were both, running business, we were kind of both doing our thing, working together. Oh, how was your day? Good. Whatever. We didn't really have a lot of synergy when we were both running business. But I remember, and you probably remember this night too, I came home and I had just come off of $100,000 month. We were making great money. I was personally producing a ton. You're starting to gain some traction. You're producing a good amount as well. But I just wasn't happy. And I was getting burnt out, to be honest with you. And I came home and I said, Claudia, I love what we're doing. I love writing business. I love helping families. But I don't want to be forced to do this for the next 5-10 years. And we need to figure out how to build the business. And we need to figure out how to recruit. So I think it really started with getting an office. And it just took time. It just took time to develop, kind of figure out our different flows. And, it was a lot of trial and error the first few months. But I think, obviously now, bringing it all the way up to speed to the present moment, the reason we work so well together is because we stay in our own sandboxes. Where I'm very involved in, the recruiting, sales training agents, sales side of things. You're really good. You're super talented with the back end numbers, training our staff, training Guy, helping Ellen, making sure the staff has everything they need, doing your accountability calls with agents and being the real reason we don't all fall apart.
That's why they call me Mama Bear.
Yeah, and being team mom. So I think, we're working together all day long and our offices are right beside each other. And we'll see each other at lunch, but we're together all the time, but we kind of do our own thing at the same time. And that's really the beauty of it. And that's what really allows us to, staying in our sandboxes, allows us to just do our own thing and be the absolute best at that and run hard.
Yeah. And I think
without butting heads.
Highlighting on that, so obviously I have a business partner, and I found for me and Joe, it's funny how it's so similar. And they say, being in business together is like being in a relationship or being in a marriage.
Yeah.
And that is something that we have found successful as well. Like we have our own areas that we focus on. That's like our sandbox. We're in control. I think people who are in relationships have trouble making that distinction because it's like business and your personal relationship are two different things. I think some people really struggle with that. Is that something that you guys, just got really good advice on at the beginning? You understood? Did you kind of make some mistakes early on? What did that look like for you to where you are today?
Yeah. So for me, and feel free to chime in, but honestly, when you're building a business, there really is no balance. And I'm not giving relationship advice, but me and Claudia, we both just really enjoy business. And we both really just enjoy building the business. And so a majority of what we talk about, since this is our life, is business.
Sure.
And that's most of what we do. But here's the thing, guys, like that's okay. It's, people talk about work-life balance and, you got to be able, and like, yes, that's important. And yes, we do that. But at the end of the day, it's, and me and Claudia have had many conversations about this. We're sacrificing, we're sacrificing our 20s. So our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s are going to be set up and, to truly be able to be financially free and be in a better position. And that's one thing that we've accepted and we honestly just enjoy what we do. And, we were at date night on Sunday on the river in Chicago.
I was going to say, I think our date nights, though, are also why it works so well.
Yeah.
I have it penciled into the Google Calendar. Every other Sunday, we have an uninterrupted date night, no phones. Well, we are sometimes on our phones. But
unless it's an emergency, we put our phones down.
Yeah, we always do phones down. We always, try to talk about other things. But it's also not, an every night thing. It's not happening twice a week. It's not even happening once a week always. It's always like at least a minimum of every other week, and like that's fine with us.
Yeah. And there's a time and a place for that, and that's definitely important. But the majority of the week, it's, when we get home, like, hey, how was your day? We'll talk about work, talk about business, talk about other stuff, but most of it's work, and it's fine. It works for us.
Some nights we don't even talk and we just go to bed.
Yeah,
that's fine
too. Claudia, a lot of people know you, and we passed this, and I want to highlight it really quick. A lot of people know you as like the like emotional strength, and also like for many agents, and for also helping people take a look at themselves critically. Like look at their numbers, look at their performance. You know, these one-on-one accountability calls you do for the agents are huge. They're huge. I've heard about many agents reference them. Is that a strength you always knew that you had, or is it something you discovered?
I always feel like I had a strength of, you know, emotionally relating to people. I've always been pretty good at that because I am relatively emotional. But as far as like the weekly calls, I remember attempting them and thinking, these aren't doing anything. People aren't listening to me. It's not getting anywhere. And then after like week 3 or 4 of doing it, I noticed it clicked.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is actually working. Like, I don't think it's a surprise that 2 weeks or 2 months after I started those calls, we had our biggest month. And agents, it's not just because we brought in more agents, like our agents had their biggest months.
Oh, I remember from the outside looking in, I remember obviously you guys didn't have a lot of agents for a long time. You know, you were basically just you, Jonah, and then just you and Claudia and like 1 or 2 other agents for like the first 2 years. And then it started really ramping up. I remember the beginning where it was like, okay, we have a lot of people coming through the front door, but not a lot of people sticking and being successful. So it's like we kind of took every problem as it came, right? Like at first it's like, okay, we don't have enough people coming through the front door. Now we have enough coming through the front door. We feel like we're not equipping them well enough. And then it's like, okay, we think we figured out a system that's starting to really work for us. We're bringing people through the front door, we're training them well, and we're starting to gain traction. And it was right about the time that you really started doing those accountability calls. And I remember like talking with you guys, it was like a revelation that hit us. Like, oh wow, like this is working. So talk to people about what those calls look like.
So I have developed an entire like spreadsheet, and basically if you've seen like a dial tracker, it's all like the daily numbers, the dials, the presentations, closes, all that kind of stuff. And the reason I created the spreadsheet to begin with is because agents would send me their tracker and then they would just like throw it away, and I would like never look at it again. I couldn't like reference what they did last Monday to make last Monday a really good day on Thursday, because it was already thrown away
right
at that point. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a spreadsheet. I've always been a spreadsheet girl. So I created a spreadsheet, which is basically the same numbers that are on the dial tracker. And it's evolved over time. Now I have it calculating, you know, your pickup percentage, presentation percentage, close percentage, and average policy. And once I did that dictates a lot of what is able to be seen as far as like where they're weak and where they're strong. Like we were just talking about an agent who went from doing he did like, am I allowed to talk about numbers?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. He was doing like 1,500 a week, and then last week he did 6K. And we were like, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, well, it's because I fixed my number was spam. And I looked at him, I'm like, okay, obviously, yes, that's a problem. But looking at this, that is not why you didn't do more. You had less presentations this week. You had less people picking up the phone this week, but you got better at closing. And he was like, oh yeah, I got better at, you know, digging into the why, asking more questions, all those kinds of things. And I'm like, yes, that is why you got better. It's not because your number was no longer spam. And so it's really easy for a lot of agents to think their problem is one thing, and then the spreadsheet just shows that it's something else. Every time. They're like, oh, Claude, I'm just not getting people on the phone. I'm like, your pickup percentage is above average. Yes, you are. Like, let's not push the blame here.
Yeah.
Oh, my number's spam. People aren't picking up the phone. I'm just not able to do this. I'm not able to do that. And it's just able to take the emotion out of everything that they're doing and just really be able to hone in on, okay, this is your problem. This is the area we have to fix, so that they can move forward.
Yeah. Dude, I love what you're saying so much, because it highlights something that it's hard to say to new agents without sounding kind of insulting. because you're basically saying you have no idea what you're talking about. But it is what you're saying, because you're like, look, when you, like, let's say I'm starting something completely new. Like, and usually I'll try to find something that person is good at. I was recently talking to a new agent who's a really good hockey player. And I told him, I was like, dude, I have no experience at hockey. And he's played for a long time. And I'm like, if I asked you to teach me to be a good hockey player, and then I got out there and right off the bat, I was telling you how I thought it was best to be a good hockey player, what would you think of me? And he's like, well, I would think you were an idiot. Right, because I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I have no frame of reference. And what if I was like, well, I YouTubed, how to, be a good hockey player. Like, and I still, like, I was telling you how I was going to do it. Would that be any better? You're like, no, not. He was like, no, not really. I was like, this business is the same way. When you come in, you have no frame of reference yet for what not only is good and bad. Like, you want to make money and make sales, but you don't even know how to look at the information yet. And to your point, Claudia, a lot of people don't even record it. So what you're doing for them is not just helping them record their information, but also helping them understand how to look at it. Because like this example you just used, he had the numbers in front of him. Yeah. Still, he wasn't able to suss out why he was being successful or why he wasn't.
Yeah.
It takes that kind of experienced hand to walk people through that. So I think that's why these calls, any mentor who's not doing that in this business, you're missing big time. Because I think it's so many times we assume what someone knows. Like, well, they get this. I've done that many times before. I'm like, well, Jonah understands. Why would you assume that?
Yeah, and I want to add on to that as well. That's huge. The other portion of it is it just simply holds people accountable. Where if, they want to sleep in or, take it easy that day, but then they're like, oh, I have my accountability call with Claudia on Friday. I don't want to look like a dumbass. And the amount of agents that I've had that have pulled me aside, they'll be like, bro, don't tell Claudia, but low-key, Claudia scares the shit out of me.
Dude, the fact that agents are walking around terrified of Claudia brings my heart so much joy. Like,
mine too.
Like, they see her walking down with Winnie, and they're like, oh no. Just looking at the ground.
The amount of times I've just heard Claudia yelling from her office, and I'll be like, oh no. I don't know who that is, but I feel bad for her.
But you know what? They have a better week that week.
They do.
So
they do.
Let's go into that, Claudia, because we're laughing at that and it is funny. But what things make you passionate to where you might, get excited and talk to an agent like that, to where you're like, what is it? They're just not getting something. It's a situation. Is it laziness? What brings that out of you?
Honestly, like, what brings like the frustration out of me?
Or the need to get like passionate, when you're talking to people. Because I think for some people they'd be like, you're just talking about numbers and activity. Claudia's like going off on people. What's going on?
I got to think about this one.
Because you care about them.
Because I've seen you.
Well, because I care about them, and they have no excuses. I talk to them on a weekly basis. I have my scheduled penciled in for them. I'm respecting their time as much as they respect mine. And when I sit on the same call every week, and it's the exact same excuse every week of what they're not getting fixed, and they think it's one thing and it's completely something else, I get frustrated at the agents who don't know. And they think, they think it's one thing and it's not. And then if I let them sit there and think that their problem is their close when really their numbers spam or whatever it may be, I'm just failing them by not pointing that out to them.
Yeah.
And I think why I get so passionate is because we were talking about that this morning of how easy they have it being virtual. And I just think about my days in the field, and when they complain about there's no way I can hit 200 dials in a day, and I'm like, what do you mean? And I'll ask them, I'm like, do you have a spouse? No. Do you have kids? No. Do you have a second job? No. Do you have anybody depending on you financially or in your time? No. Are you happy with your bank account right now?
I feel my blood pressure going up as you're speaking.
Then they say like, no. I'm like, are you happy with your results right now? And they're like, no. And I'm like, then why are you not listening?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you have zero excuses. Like for the people who have like kids and families, like I give them a little bit more grace, but not a lot.
You know what I love so much about this? Because I want to address something for all of the viewers right now. Because I think there might be someone out there who is taking this in a way, and I want to like hit this head on, who might take it in a way like, oh, like, you know, that just kind of sounds like you're mad at them for whatever. But what I'm hearing and seeing is you are giving an incredible gift to somebody, which is perspective, which is somebody, you know, we had a meeting here at the office with a lot of the agents who came in, and that's something we were talking about today. It's like, man, we are so blessed in so many different realms of our situation, with leads, with virtual sales, with the climate of insurance and our country and everything right now, and to not think about that realistically, to that agent who's not putting in the effort, they're not being successful. But also it's like, on one hand, they're foolishly letting go of like this incredible opportunity. On the other hand, they're not even thinking about it. It's that same thing we just talked about, where agent isn't even able to look at their numbers and identify the problem. It's where an agent isn't even able to look at their life and realize how bad they're messing up. And what you're giving them is that perspective and ability to look at it and be like, oh wow, Claudia is right. I'm not being very smart about this. And Jonah, this reminds me of exactly the conversation we had on our pod, where you talked about the transformation in your life as a young person, where you just woke up one day and you realized, I'm not where I want to be in life. And also, I think I might be really messing something up.
Yes.
So, dude, thank you for having that conversation with so many people.
It's been a huge blessing for our group. And it's been one of the most impactful actions we've made towards growth. But I also want to emphasize what you said and how blessed we are. Because I think we need to create a new policy that anybody that complains about our business or complains about leads, they need to go back to the leads we were calling
right.
and have a run day in the field.
Yeah.
Because first of all, we were running all local, so I'd have to leave our house at 6:30, 7 a.m. in the morning. Wouldn't get home till
many times
10, 11 o'clock at night.
Many
grinding,
times.
4 times a week, yeah.
Indiana, Wisconsin, and then the leads we were getting was, I mean, dude, we weren't able to get enough leads in our area, and the leads we were buying were recycled leads that were sold another 30, 40 times, that 30% of them was free Walmart gift card. I would show up to the home. They'd be like, where's my Walmart gift card? I'd be like, I didn't have it, but I'm like, here for the life insurance. and then I'd have to door knock the rest of my leads because I couldn't get a hold of people on the phones because you're getting so many phones. It's like, dude, that was a grind. That's what we had to do to survive.
Yeah.
And just not only, like, first of all, the ability to be virtual, to reach 4 or 5 times the amount of people and run twice, if not 3 times the amount of presentations we were able to run before in the field, not even more than that. But also the lead quality that we have in our group and generating the majority of the leads in-house, that we have full transparency on the leads. And it is a high intent lead that, you know, they filled it out. They know exactly what it's for, they know exactly why you're calling. I mean, just the ability, like, there truly has been no better time to be in the life insurance industry than right now. And it's never been easier.
Dude, I agree with you 100%. And dude, something we need to highlight for sure is the level of mentorship within Pinnacle, within Prosper. Because, dude, I remember one of my first top agents that would come in to be a President's Club member, wrote $400K plus a year. I was brand new, like less than 2 months into this. He was just trying to figure it out. So he'd call me, I'd help him with what I can, and he would call my upline. And my upline just told him to stop calling. Shout out to Matt. Because he's like, I'm pretty sure he just told me to not call him anymore. And I was like, okay, well, call me. I'll keep answering your calls. So to hear about this level of mentorship for our agents, which I know is happening all over, I mean, that's incredible on top of everything else.
Oh,
Because
not
we
only-
actually have a profitable business model where mentors can invest in their people.
Let's talk about that. Where not only the accountability calls, but every single agent we have coming through the system goes through a thorough week long of training, which is by me, you, 4 other managers. They have a Zoom call every single day, breaking everything down in depth from tonality, script work, presentation, products, objection handling, how to do your freaking taxes, like everything from A to Z is all mapped out for them. And then at the very last call, they go through their presentation, make sure they have the correct tonality, the correct verbal pacing. You have all the rebuttals memorized. So when they do get leads, they get on the phones, they're able to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And then we do our monthly lock-ins.
Yeah.
Our lock-ins next week. Everybody's flying in. First 2 days, hands-on, in-depth training. Rest of the week is on the phones. You can, all of our managers are going to be here helping agents close, listen to other agents close, critiquing, getting better, making sure everybody's getting paid, everybody's profitable, successful. Dude, I would have killed for that.
Yeah,
like
dude.
Our training was, hey, here's some YouTube videos. Like, go figure it out.
Untitled. What are they for? I don't know. There's no title on it. You're just gonna have to watch and see. And dude, on top of that, dude, there's so much. Two weekly agency calls.
Yes.
A daily.
Yes.
If you're in office, there's a daily short little training. If you're not in office, there's a Zoom training daily. Live Discord, live dials where you can get on, listen to top producers,
24/7.
Like all over the country. I mean, sometimes I'll go in there just for fun. I'll wait. Like the other night, I woke up. I was sick. I was like up at 2 a.m. I was like, just curious. Is anyone on Discord? Like I thought about it randomly, and it was 11 o'clock for someone like on the West Coast, and they were calling someone like Hawaii, and there was 3 people on live dials. And I'm like, oh man, that is crazy.
Yeah, it's just so cool to see. And I mean, I love everybody here, but it's like, dude, you have no excuse. You have 0 excuses to not be successful. Like if you're not succeeding in this business, it's your fault because you're not putting in the work.
So much of the insurance industry is throwing people against the wall. It's let's put every warm body into this and just throw people against the wall. If they go and they sell a policy and they crash and burn, like it is what it is. That's where I came into a captive agency where that was the vibe. It was like, we're making wine and people are grapes. So they come in, we squish them, and then time for more grapes. I was there for 6 months, and I probably saw 200-300 people walk in and out the door.
I hate that.
Because they weren't making money. And I mean, our goal here, we're looking for full-time people that want to make this a career. And we give them the backing so they can make this a career. And that's beautiful, dude.
But another impactful action that we've made towards the agency is just simply filtering out who we bring through the door.
Yeah.
And it's a common mistake that I see in the insurance industry, and we fell in this trap a few years ago, is like, dude, you don't need to hire everybody that has a pulse.
Right.
No.
It's like, I don't know where we
Say it
drifted off
again
and
for
went
the people
wrong.
in the back.
Yeah, and on our manager call this morning, we were just talking about that, about we need to do some trimming, and we need to remove some people from our organization. And it's funny, we talking about that in our manager meeting, and even before that at about 7:30 this morning, I was on the phone with an agent, and she was saying about this person, and da-da-da. I was like, you need to fire your entire team. That's what I told her. Like, you need to fire everybody and start over. And that's okay, because this job isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of work. It takes accountability. It takes determination. And the only way that we're able to run our business the way we run it is, and pour that amount of time, effort, energy, because we generally do we put a lot of work, we pour a lot of time, we spend a lot of time with our people, accountability calls, training, role play, one-on-one, etc., is just filtering out the people we bring through. Because if we were hiring anybody that wanted a job, dude, we don't have the bandwidth for that. So if you simply filter who you bring through the door and only hire people that, possess the work ethic, are coachable, have character, integrity, and are consistent, and they simply have those 4 things, that's all you have to do, because this job does not require any innate special talent or ability, but it does require those 4 characteristics. And those are the 4 characteristics that we look for in every single recruiting call. And if anybody does not possess, if they possess 3 out of the 4, does not possess one of them, we don't hire them.
Yeah.
They have to possess all 4 to come through. And they're very, very simple. And you should. So I think it all starts with filtering who you bring through the door. And then once you bring through the right individuals to the door, like we talk about, that's when the accountability calls come into play, providing the right structure, providing the right environment, having good culture, and all those things really piece the agency together and have allowed us to see some success.
And for people that don't have the experience that we have, let's just focus on something for just a second here, because we're talking about the accountability calls. We know all the time that goes into a new agent. How much time, and when I say wasted, I don't mean in that person wasn't valuable as a person, but they weren't a good fit for this industry. So you spent hours and hours with them trying to help them, and then they quit, or you had to let them go, and it feels like a time wasted. You're like, dude, I spent dozens of hours with that person, and they just weren't the right fit. So bringing the right person into the industry in the first place, I mean, how many times would you say you've invested time in maybe the wrong person?
Oh, so many times. And lesson learned. And, again, another thing we're talking about in the manager meeting this morning was just the more hiring calls you run, the more you recruit, the better of a pulse you're going to get at seeing if somebody's a good fit or not.
Yeah.
And it's really just about setting the right expectations from the beginning.
Yeah. And I think what you just said there is really important for somebody. People need to look at recruiting a little bit similarly to they do to the sales process. 30% close ratio for the average agent is pretty solid. Like if you're running enough appointments and you're doing that, you're going to make a very good income in this industry. That means 70% are, not going to buy. I think it's the same thing in recruiting. And people, you shouldn't not run appointments because you're scared of people saying no. And you shouldn't not recruit because you're scared of hiring the wrong person. Because the only way that you're going to figure it out is to do it, and then also to get good mentorship. What's your weekly schedule look like? Time that you're actually working, getting in the office, leaving, getting done with your last call. What does that look like in a normal week?
Yeah, good question. So, actually, it all starts before work in our morning routine. I'm big on having a solid, structured morning routine. So me and Claudia, we wake up at about between 5 to 5:20 a.m. And, we get out of bed, do our thing. And then one thing that we do is we do morning devotions in the morning every morning. We sit on our balcony, look over the lake, and we read our Bible. Then we're also reading this personal development John Maxwell book.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's great. And so we do that, and then we're in the gym, and we live basically half the office lives in our apartment building. So we work out with half the office in the morning, which is super fun.
Shout out to the NEMA.
Shout out to the NEMA building, yeah. So we love that. So get a good solid workout in with the boys every morning. And then, I'll usually do, rep the steam room and cold plunge if I have time in the morning. And then I'm in the office, and I try to be at the office by 7:30 every morning.
Wait, so Jonah, real quick. You're telling me you don't always do the steam room and the cold plunge, even if it means you're going to be late to the office?
Yes.
Claudia can't agree with you on that one.
No. I was honestly pinpointing on that because there's so many agents and they run late to the office and they're like, I woke up late, this took longer. And I'm like, if I wake up late, I'm just cutting my workout short. I'm doing the things that I don't normally get to do so I can be on time.
Yeah.
You're not doing the steam room and the cold plunge, even though you want to, so you can be at the office on time. It's not rocket science.
What's effective time management too? Because why would you reward yourself for not waking up on time? I'm just going to do the things I normally do and work's going to suffer.
Yeah, no.
So
business comes first.
At 7:30. Mm-hmm. When do you normally leave in the office on a typical weekday?
7, 8, sometimes 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so pretty full day in the office, 12 hours, typically. And then Saturday, Sunday, what does that look like for you?
So Saturday in the office every Saturday, except for last Saturday we had a boat competition, and it felt super uncomfortable. That was the first Saturday. I was didn't know what to do. It was the first Saturday I hadn't worked in 4 years. I was like, and because we did a boat competition, so the top producers, we were on the water. But yeah, I mean, Saturdays are the day I have always taken the most seriously, and I am the most adamant. If you're gonna work one day of the week, you need to work Saturdays. Like Saturdays are the best day to help families and the best day to dial the phone, since it's the day we take actually the most seriously.
Yeah.
And you really should put in the effort.
100%. What does Saturday look as? A full day? Do a half day Saturday?
So we usually do. We're not going till 8 on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll dial until 3, 4, 5 o'clock and then be done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Saturday morning, early afternoon, best time to help clients, best time to be in the office, to dial, and then we'll usually be out of here by late afternoon, early evening.
Nice. And then what does Sunday look like? Is that a rest day for you?
No.
Typically. Well, definitely not a rust day. No, not at all.
So,
Right, 'cause
I'm still waking up at 5.
I know you're still hitting the gym, but what does the rest of the day look like?
Yeah, why don't you share your routine?
So Jonah and mine Sundays look a little different. I wake up at between 5 and 5:30. I attempt to get a workout in. I either get a workout in or I clean up the apartment a little bit before I leave, and then I get to church at 7:30. I started serving, when was that, like a few months ago?
Yeah.
I think around Easter. Easter was my first day. I started serving, so I get to church at like 7:30 to set up green room, set up a bunch of this stuff like the coffee bar, all those kinds of things, and then I serve the 9 o'clock, and Jonah joins me at church at 10:30.
Yeah.
10:30.
Yeah. So Sundays is my day. I like to just wake up, just have some time by myself. I'm introverted, so I just need time to think, time to clear my thoughts. So like Sunday morning is just, Claudia's not in the apartment, do breathing exercises, maybe some Wim Hof meditation, whatever it is. And then I'm in the gym, and I really enjoy Sunday working out because it's my day I can actually take a little bit extra time in the gym and really get a solid, hardcore workout in. Typically work out with some of the boys. A few of the guys join me, and then we're in church, and we pretty much take up an entire row because we have, again, half the office joins us for church, which we love. So we get the whole squad in church. After church, we usually grab brunch. Sunday brunches, we brunch right, so love brunch. Breakfast food is just the best.
Yeah.
Breakfast food is always the best.
So we always do a brunch after Sunday, and then if I have work I need to catch up on, I try not to, but some Sundays, just busy weeks, if I need to, I'll take meetings Sunday afternoon or catch up on work. Won't always work Sundays. I like to take that day off, but sometimes I need to. And then in the evenings, we usually do date night or just keep it low key. And
Sushi Sundays.
Yeah. And Sunday evenings are actually so that's one thing we are pretty protective over. Sunday evenings from like about 5 to 9 p.m. is the one day of the week we actually get to watch Netflix and watch our show.
Oh yeah.
So that's one thing we do enjoy. And we do watch TV.
Like if we have an agent staying with us, well, we try to keep agents not staying with us on Sunday nights, but if they do, I'm like, all right, well, I hope you're fine with this show because we're watching it regardless. I'm not talking to anybody. We are watching this regardless, and nothing changes. And you say 5 to 9, but we turn it off at like 8, and we go to bed early on Sundays.
Yeah. Well, that's nice too, getting that extra rest in.
Yeah.
Extra rest and starting the week off right.
So these are pretty disciplined weeks, and if anyone is watching this and being like, and maybe they're wondering if this is legit. I've known Jonah and Claudia for a while. This is legit.
Just ask anybody who's ever stayed with us. I remember last time we had I think 3 or 4 guys staying with us, and one guy was like, I didn't sleep good because I was worried my alarm wasn't going to go off. And so the other guy just started laughing. He was like, yeah, you're not sleeping in with Jonah and Claudia.
No, we wake up early.
We wake up early and we are not quiet. We wake up everybody in the house.
I love it. So how old are you guys?
How old am I? I'm 25.
You're 25.
24, almost 25.
So you guys are pretty young on a very disciplined schedule. You've been doing this for a few years now. Obviously very focused. There's probably some people out there wondering, like people from the outside looking in, they're like, man, these young guys are working really hard. And I mean, it's not, I don't want to put too much of your business out there, but you're not broke. You're doing pretty well, financially. I think a lot of people would be thinking, hey, why wouldn't they be, this is a young couple, they're young, going out, partying, having fun, traveling more, whether good or bad, I'm not saying necessarily things that are dumb, but just enjoying life more. And obviously you're very, very focused right now. Talk to people about why you're so focused. I'd like to hear from each of you.
Yeah, so I'll go first. But it's, first of all, we have very high standards.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason is, we're not entirely money motivated. If we were money motivated, yeah, we're making great money. We would have stopped working a while ago and we'd be enjoying our time. But, first of all, we genuinely enjoy business. We enjoy what we do. It doesn't feel grueling or a grudge. We're in the office 12 hours every day, but it's like, dude, I was saying this in our morning huddle today. It was like, I've been in this business, and 2 years ago, I was at the point where I was getting burnt out, where I started resenting this business, where I was just coming off $100,000 month, was producing a lot, doing great, but it was just such a grind. But like now I come in and I'm working with all the agents and recruiting and training and helping people and doing this podcast and filming content, and just like, it's like, what else would I be doing? I just thoroughly enjoy doing it. But the biggest thing is, it's this, as cliche as it sounds, it's 100% true. And I've discovered this I'm beginning to discover this and really see this in fruition, where the most rewarding and the most fulfilling action you can do in life is helping and serving other people and helping them get to the place you are. So I think just really being here for everybody, seeing their success, seeing them win, the smile on their face, and helping them level up their business and do it that much faster than we did and not have to make all the mistakes that we made.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the most rewarding and the most fulfilling thing we could possibly do.
Yeah.
And impact a lot of people. And that's what we're going to do.
I love that.
All
You say,
right.
Claude.
Obviously everything Jonah just said, but also like we're 24 and 25. Why would I like take my foot off the gas?
Right.
Yeah.
I saw this thing once and I was like, you're never going to have more energy than you do right now. And it's like, why would I stop? What it baffles me. It doesn't make any sense. But not only that, like Jonah and I, we always talk about it. Like we work hard in our 20s so that we can, enjoy our 30s. And like whenever the day comes that we have a family, like I don't want anything, to financially to affect, something that they can or can't do. I don't want, my time to not be able to be there, because I grew up in like a paycheck to paycheck household where my mom worked a 9 to 5. And I don't want to be not present, and I also don't want to like ever have to say no because of like a money thing either.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm 25, I am not married, and I don't have kids. So
100%. And
what
guys,
else?
100%. I couldn't agree more with what you said. But for everybody watching this podcast right now, guys, if you're not married and don't have kids, you have zero excuses. Like, yeah, if we had kids and we were 35, 36, like, yeah, we could build the business, but it'd be that much harder. More responsibilities, mortgage, more bills, less energy. It'd be 10 times harder.
Yeah.
So it's like there's really no better time to go all out, build the business, and achieve financial success. So, like you said, not only having to say no, but also when we do have a family, being able to enjoy life and spend time with our kids, spend time with our family. That's important as well.
Yeah.
People talk about work-life balance. When you're building a business, there is no balance.
Yeah.
You're all in 24/7, and that's the sacrifice we're willing to make in our 20s, so we can enjoy the time with our family and then have that balance and take that time off in our 30s.
I thought of a verse and I wanted to pull it up so I wasn't paraphrasing, that you guys just made me think of. In 1 Timothy 4:12 it says, "Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity."
Of course, you have to read in the King James.
Yeah. Dude, I gotta. We have a lot of people who come into this business. I think Pinnacle just contracted our 1,700th agent in like, I don't know, a couple months. And
that's huge.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
But we have a lot of people who come in who are more mature in life, people who are probably going to watch this and, they have a spouse with kids, who maybe they're the sole provider in their household, and they're looking at you and they're thinking, I wish I had this opportunity again. Like, I wish I had that or had that when I was that age. Like, I wish I had that youth again. This verse, let no man despise thy youth. It would be that same person looking at someone young in an opportunity like this and seeing them go out and, you know, get drunk in the middle of the week, see them go out party every weekend, see them not be focused, waste their money and time on things that don't matter, and they despise that person. Because they say, if I had the opportunity, if I had the energy, if I had the time, I would be doing what Jonah and Claudia were doing. And this person is just wasting it away. So that's a verse to young people, exhorting them to not waste. And so I think you guys are an example in this business of what focus and determination, what it can, and I mean, to your point, Claudia, what it should be. Like the idea that, you know, oh, I'm 25, I should go out, be living life. Like, you're 25, like, get to work. Like, build something, because you have your whole life ahead of you, and where you guys are going to be when you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s, you know, keep on the same path is going to be an incredible spot. So thank you guys so much for being an example to so many people. I think it goes along perfectly with exactly what you just said, Jonah, where you love seeing that transformation in people's eyes and in their lives. There's no better way to see that than just be a good example of what you should do.
Yeah, and I also want to preface it where, guys, like, if you're watching this right now, if me and Claudia can do it, you guys can all do it. Where me and Claudia, we didn't used to be these people. I for sure didn't. Like,
I got Jonah off 3 espresso martinis. We are definitely not the same people we used to be.
Like, I was smoking weed, partying, drinking, you know, every day, every weekend. Like, you were living the college life, you were having fun, and like, we've lived that. And it's not, at the end of the day, it's just not like, what, like, you're hungover the next day, you feel like crap, you don't feel good, you're not really happy, like, actually happy. You don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel like you're living a purpose. I mean, it's like, we have way more fun, and we're way happier now working hard and being sober than we ever were when we were enjoying our youth. I don't even, like, that doesn't even, what does that even mean?
Right.
So it's, yeah, like, I just want to, like, I just hope this inspires the people watching this. Like, guys, we're nothing special. Like, we just work hard, we're coachable, we plug in, and we found the right industry to be in. It's, if we can do it, really anybody can do it, as long as they have the right attitude and the right mindset. And that's just one thing that, again, going back to, like, why we're doing this, it gets me so fired up, because being in the office with these guys, like, we're not just teaching them to write business on a high level. Like, yes, we're doing that, and they are doing that, but we have the majority of males here. So I'm going to speak to the male, the guys here. Like, we're developing people to become better men and better leaders. We live in a very softened generation where, you know, that's why we're having agents move here. That's why we're having guys move here, because, yeah, like, they're leveling up their business and they're going to make a significant amount of income. But more importantly, they're going to become better people. When you walk in the front door, it says to develop mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Financially is the last and fourth one. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. So we're in the gym every morning. You know, they're reading, personal development. We're in church on Sundays. You know, if you're not a Christian, that's okay. You know, just developing every aspect of your life, though. Because if you can get yourself in check and you can get yourself in good physical shape, you can get your spiritual life in check, and you develop self-discipline, the money naturally comes.
Yeah.
Like, money's not hard to make. It may feel hard because you're broke, but once you, like, dude, once you're doing those 3 things, you get those 3 aspects in check, and you're consistent with that, the money just naturally, money's a byproduct.
Yeah. I keep thinking of verses here, not trying to over spiritualize this pod, but there's a verse in the Bible, and I was literally just talking to Joe about it earlier today. You know, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul?
Yes.
And, you know, what you were just talking about, that phase in your life where you were doing some of the things that a lot of people, they think that's what life is about. But at the end of the day, they don't really have joy. They don't really have purpose. They're not finding those things in your life. And to hear, you know, and I know you say it genuinely, that, like, hey, the money, yeah, I have money. That's not what is actually bringing me the most joy in my life. That number in my bank account going up and up, is secondary to the transformation I see in people's lives and the purpose I have in my own life and the drive and the opportunity I have to bring real change and life to other people. And to your point, when you get those things in alignment, like everything seems to fall into place in other areas.
Yes,
So that's
100%.
That's a beautiful way to say that. Last thing, I'm going to end this one off. This has been phenomenal. We have a lot of people who come in that are couples into this business. A lot of times maybe one will come in. Sometimes they come in together. And, you know, and I think in your guys' case, we see it going very, very well. We've seen it also go not so well.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give one tip to, and I'd love to hear one from each of you, where you say, hey, this is what you need in your relationship to be successful in this business and to have the same success and enjoyment that you two have, what would you give?
Actually, I'll let you go first on this one.
I have to think about mine.
Okay, I'll go. So it just comes with setting very clear guidelines, and you're gonna have multiple conversations about that. Where it's first of all just accepting like, hey, it's gonna be hard at first, and we're gonna mess stuff up. We're together all the time. You know, we get along pretty well. We love each other, but we don't always agree on things.
No.
And that's okay. That's what building a business is all about. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's nothing wrong with that. You're gonna have disagreements. You know, you're gonna have different viewpoints on certain things. So I think just over communicate everything and set very clear guidelines of like, hey, this is how much we're going to be working. These are all of the metrics in the business. This is what I'm really good at. This is what you're really good at. This is what I'm not good at. Just being honest and accountable with yourself. Like, hey, I'm not good at this. Can you do this? Okay, if we need help, we need to hire staff. We need to allocate this, organize this here, and do this right here. And then I'm not saying it has to be perfect. I'm not saying it all has to be mapped out day one. Like it'll, you know, as you progress, as you grow, like you'll figure different things out, put the puzzle pieces together. But I think just ultimately you have to be in alignment with your spouse. That is the number one most important thing. Like me and Claudia, again, we agree on the majority of things, not everything, but our alignment is completely centered and we're on the same page as everything that's important.
Yeah.
And that's first and foremost. And then also just give your spouse grace.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that, you know, it's like when I mess up, Claudia doesn't beat me down. When Claudia does something, I don't speak negatively down on her. And it's for us, and I'm not giving advice and this doesn't work for everybody, but I think one thing that's really helped us is we enjoy business a lot and we talk about business a lot. And that's just one thing that we've accepted and we're okay with. And like, I feel like from an outside point of view looking in, they'll be like, oh, all they talk about is business and that's a terrible relationship. And it's like, okay, like we're very happy. Like we just live life and we love our life and we're happy and we're doing good and everything's great. So I think that's one thing that's just helped us out is like, we just like what we do.
Yeah.
And like in Claudia's words, like, what else would we be doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's clear you have great communication. I don't know how many times I've seen people come in, couples, and it's like one doesn't know what the other one is doing. And that's always a disaster.
Yes.
Like they don't know what to expect in the business. They don't know that it's going to be hard. It was late nights, early mornings, what's going on, and what a disaster is. It's clear that you guys are on the same page. Not just about business, but what you want to achieve in life. And anytime I've had a couple come in, if they had that in alignment, things seem to work out a lot of times. Because obviously, two people can go farther than one. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of help that can be given, that kind of partnership. But if it's not going the right way, I mean, it's actually worse than going solo because now you have somebody dragging you down. And sometimes it's not even the spouse that's not. Obviously, you guys are both in the business. This is something that works even if you're not both in the business. But sometimes it's like, dude, one person is dragging the other person's down. And it's not even that person's fault. It's actually the agent because they didn't set the expectation what this was going to look like.
Yeah.
For them. So it's like, I'm not always on. Sometimes would assume like, oh, you're probably always on the agent side when the spouse, whether it be a husband or a wife or whatever, like isn't on board. I'm like, no, not necessarily.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to bring up. I'm glad you brought that up because we've seen it time and time and time again, whether you're in business with your spouse or not, whether you guys are business partners or you're just doing this and your spouse is supporting you. It's like just having multiple conversations and sending super clear guidelines and being on the same page is so important because your spouse is either going to be your biggest enabler and your biggest motivation and help you accelerate in business, or it's going to be your biggest hindrance and it's going to drag you down depending on what the expectations are and your level of communication. So it all starts with that, and that's one of the most important things.
Yeah. What do you say about that, Claudia?
I feel like my number one tip is, again, everything Jonah said, but also like, I'm trying to think of how I want to put this in words. I had it like 5 seconds ago. Understanding like the schedule and, you know, when it's work time and when it's not work time. Like, yes, me and Jonah are a lot of work. And that's most of our time. But we do still have those times where we don't talk about work. Like sometimes in the morning, like this morning, for example, I was reading my chapter in the Bible that I read out loud, and he was like texting somebody back, and I like paused and I was like, I'm going to let you finish, but like this is our time. And I think just having that like set of, I know when we come home at work, like come home from the end of the day, like that's not us time. That's almost like individual time. Like I'll talk to Jonah about something and he'll be like, can we just have quiet time? And I'm not getting butthurt about that because like I know that's his time, and I feel the same way after a long day. Like I just want to have quiet time, not talk. I don't have it as much as Jonah because I like to talk, but sometimes he needs that time, and I understand that. Like I know that weekday evenings are not the time to talk about random stuff. Like I know Sunday nights are our time to talk about, you know, different stuff. I know that our mornings are us time. So I think just also differentiating like when things are, because it's really easy, especially like as a female, to, you know, want a lot. Like we're natural, like I'm pretty sure most females like love language is like quality time, physical touch. Like we're just like natural lovers. We like love to just love, most of us, and we want that back in return. And I catch myself even 3 years into this relationship getting a little like upset sometimes, and I have to like check myself and remember like this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is Jonah's time, and I have to respect that.
Yeah. What you said is so powerful for relationships and business. You know what it made me think of? I immediately thought of like the business parallel was when we have multiple single moms, and actually a lot that crush it with Pinnacle. And I'll talk to them about their schedule, and they'll have incredible weeks, 10, 15, 20K weeks. And the thing that makes that even more impressive is a lot of times it won't be with a full day of running. It'll be in like 2 days. Because they've got multiple kids. I think of like a Bree Star, who's an absolute dude. Shout out to Bree, an absolute crusher. And I honestly shouldn't name a name, because then I got to feel like I got to name Christy and like all the people who go out there and crush it. And Holly, you know, who, balances being a pastor's wife and, her kids and all these things. But whenever they crush it, and Mindy, of course, I feel like now I got to go down the whole line. If I missed you, I'm sorry. You got edited out. I said your name. It was Nestor's fault. It wasn't me. They do it often because they're like, hey, I have 2 days where I hire a babysitter and I focus those 2 days. And what is it? It's maximizing the time. And then I'll rag on like single guys and girls, because I'm like, you're gonna let Bree beat you? You had 6 days, she had 2.
A part-time mom, bro.
Exactly. I take my Jonah, I do Jonah's face. I'm like, a part-time mom. Like, and how is she able to do that? Is because she values that time so much. Because she's like, hey, I'm taking this time away from my kids. There's other valuable things I could be doing. and I'm taking this time and I'm giving 100% to this. And that's exactly what you just said. You say, the time that we have together, you guys might be having more quality time. It's actually a crazy thing to say, what I'm about to say. More quality time than people who have, they have all their evenings, free just for them. But because you are focusing so much, you're like, hey, the time that we have together is precious. Like, it's our time. We're focusing in on each other, and you maximize it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really strong. That's a good relationship. You're like, hey, this is us. We're making that happen. So no, that was
We're
great.
not too shabby.
Yeah, intentionality is everything. And if I could capitalize on what you said,
Please.
it's just like I've heard this time and time again from multiple agents that are either in serious relationships or are married. They're just like, dude, it's just like, I mean, this work-life balance thing, I'm really trying to figure it out. But, when I'm working, I feel like I should be home. And when I'm home, I feel like I should be working. I get anxiety. It's just, you have to be intentional. When you're working, focus on work. Don't focus on anything else but working. Be efficient. Be dialed with your time. And, when you're home with your family and it's not work time, be present, be with your family, and be intentional about that time.
Yeah. Guys, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for everything you do, for Pinnacle, for Prosper, for being a great example. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Prosper Pod. Have a great rest of your day. God bless.